Greetings, class, and welcome to my Geography in My Backyard presentation. My name is Stephen Gibbons, and it is my objective to inform you of several different natural processes that threaten the stability of one of our city's great historic monuments, Mission Espada. Every grand adventure starts with a treasure map, but put down that spade because this map leads not to gold and jewels, but to the wealth of knowledge that comes from understanding some of the physical forces that impact the world around us. The red line represents my erratic path as I comb the historic landscape seeking evidence of the forces that work to destroy the mission grounds, and each waypoint represents a point where Earth gives way to environmental forces. Before we rush into the front lines, it is important to understand the battlefield. Mission Espada was founded in 1731 and the church was completed in 1756. From this we can discern that the limestone that makes up its walls has been exposed to the harsh conditions of the above-ground world for almost 300 years. While this is but a blip compared to geologic time, it is still long enough for a trained eye to spot the effects of denudation. Because limestone is such a plentiful resource in the San Antonio area, it was used in the construction of many of our antiquated missions, and Mission Espada is no exception. These hollowed walls are rife with examples of just how limestone is broken down and wore away by the forces that threaten it. On this particular rock that sits atop what remains of one of the mission walls, evidence of two distinct types of weathering can be seen. First, the craters on the face of the rock are a telltale sign of carbonation, a form of chemical weathering which limestone is specifically susceptible to due to its classification as a carbonate rock. When raindrops come into contact with a carbonate rock such as limestone, the calcium carbonate in the rock reacts to the acidic carbon dioxide that is trapped within the raindrop, forming calcium bicarbonate, which is water soluble and gets washed away by further rains. The second notable weathering agent is that of the lichen that can be seen as the orange scales leaching off the surface minerals of the rock. These single-celled organisms consume the outmost layer of the rock, slowly chipping away at the rock's surface in very thin segments. The irregular blotches on the rock can most likely be attributed to those tiny organisms. I found this archway at Mission Espada to be quite intriguing as a comparison between weathered and unweathered rock. The arch itself provides cover for some of the rock faces, providing a direct comparison of the effects of weathering while observing the same rock. Take note of the large rock near the center of the pillar on the right side. It has been cut into a smooth face, and it can be assumed at one point all the faces of this rock look similar to it. Now direct your attention to the outside face of this rock. The corners, once sharp, have now been rounded by hundreds of years' worth of rainstorms, and the face, once as smoothed by a skilled craftsman, now shows the scarring of lichen and carbonation. The rotting of the walls is not the only factor in this landmark's deterioration. Here we see that what was once a portion of flooring, or perhaps the base of another wall, which has succumbed to the unfavorable effects of time. Though minute in scale, I believe this image represents the concept of mass wasting quite well. In this example, stone that once sat a few inches off the ground has been torn from its perch by the forces of weathering and aided in its descent by the footsteps of man. The stone-based binding agent that held this feature together was most likely weakened when rainwater permeated its surface, expanding the joints, until they were brittle enough to fall from under some unsuspecting visitor's foot. Using the shape of the binding material, it is possible to discern where these stones once rested. What presentation of one of San Antonio's historic mission parks would be complete without the inclusion of the church itself? The church face is another prime example of the destructive power contained in hundreds of years of rain. Taking a closer look at the exterior walls of the church, it can be seen that what was once a smooth facing on the church has been washed away by the rain, exposing the structural pieces of stone underneath. My exploration of the park also led me to the banks of the San Antonio River, just beneath 410. Here I found an example of a point bar and a cut bank. This point bar consists of the debris that the river has carried to it. The signs of erosion on the cut bank are not very dramatic, likely due to the interference of humans. There was a wire mesh holding some rocks to the river bank to prevent further deterioration. This concludes my presentation, and it is my hope that you now understand that the forces of denudation do not solely act on the environments of the wild, and the structures of man will one day be weathered away too.